Today we're in Windows XP Professional, and what we want to do is look at some command line tools. So the first thing we'll do, let's look at the old DOS command prompt. This is a 16-bit command prompt, and your familiar DOS commands are there. Recurse out, memory, version, there's a trib and its options, clear, and let's erase. And we'll say yes. But anyway, that's our old 16-bit DOS command prompt. What you're probably more interested in, or what you want to use, is not COMMAND, but CMD. And this is a command prompt for Windows NT 2000 Professional, XP Professional 2003, Vista 2008. And again, some of the same DOS commands. Here's our directory listing. Make a directory called test. Oh, already exists. We'll erase test, yes, and then we'll make a directory called test, clear, go into test, oops, Linux command there. Gotta remember I'm in Microsoft, and let's go ahead and create a file. We'll do the old edit command. We'll just add a comment tag in our batch file rim. This is a test, and we'll add a few commands. CLS echo hi mom. There you go. And let's go ahead and save this. And for the name, we'll just call the name of the file test, and we'll save it into the test folder. And I'm going to exit, and there's my file test. And you know how you have the touch command, you can create files in Linux and you can view them with cat, short for catalog. Well, in DOS you can use type command to do the same thing. So I'm going to type test, and that's all test is. It's just showing me the ASCII text contents of that file. Type and test. And I have the attrib command. In this case here I have the attributes of test and test, and if I want to, let me rename test, didn't give it an extension, but let's rename test to test.bat and clear the screen, and now it's test.bat. With this batch extension, or .bat extension, short for batch file, now we can run tests as a program. And you can see what it does is it clears the screen and says, hi mom. Again, I'll run it again. I'm hitting the up arrow from the command prompt. If you hit the up arrow, you can cycle through commands from your previous commands to your other commands. But since I changed the extension to a batch file, it becomes executable. And it clears the screen and says, it just echoes, hi mom. And if I added echo off to my batch file, you wouldn't see the echo hi mom, but here's it's actually displaying hi mom. So, by the way, hi mom, but DNS issues, a lot of times that will help fix the problem. And again, now all that I have in my cache are these two items. I can list my ARP cache. These are what, remember that, DNS networking routing takes place at layer 3. The MAC address and address resolution protocol are at layer 2, and this is my ARP cache. I could clear it if I want to use the command in this case, and now if I look at my ARP cache, no entries are there. This might be a useful tool if you're having problems with connectivity in Windows XP or Vista for that matter, 2003, 2008, because the local ARP cache, it helps speed things up, but sometimes things go wrong. Let's say that somebody changes their NIC cards and reboots their PC. Your computer could have the old MAC address cached, not the new MAC address, and so it wouldn't be able to resolve that particular computer host name because it would have the wrong basically the wrong MAC address in its ARP cache. So if you clear the ARP cache, then you force it to go out and look for the new MAC address. And not only does XP have that problem, but sometimes switches have that problem before they go into learning mode. MBT stat. We'll look at some of the MBT stat. For a remote machine, really just have a loopback going right now, so I don't have, can't not going to be very fruitful, but we'll at least look at it with my loopback. And let's list some more settings here. Let's look at our local net bias names. And here are my local net bias names. So NBTstat can be a useful tool. These are just some of the command line tools that you'll see. GP update. And again, if I change group policy or local security policy settings, I can use GP update to refresh GP update. Just some of the system commands that are very useful, very powerful from the command prompt in Windows. Some other nice command tools would be the ping command. And again, I'll just use ipconfig to look at some of my IP settings, and route print to print my routing table. And so I want to try to ping my gateway here. Here's my default, use the mouse cursor. Here's my default gateway. Went to say 82. And if I get 4 echo replies, and I've got a good solid connection there. Now let me try to go through my gateway. I'll try to get an outside domain. So we'll try to resolve something to, say, Yahoo. In this case, again, here's the domain name. It's being resolved to 691.147.114.210. Another useful command, if I were tracking down routing problems or configuration problems, would be traceroute. And I could traceroute to that IP. So I want to find out all the places I go through to get to 69147.114.210 there. And so here we go. There's our gateway. And then in this case, there's Yahoo. They're a very useful command that you can run from the command prompt is the net command. And here's the syntax. It's a lot like the service command in Fedora if you've used it. With the service command in Fedora, if I wanted to start, stop, or restart the web server, Apache web server, I could say service space HTTPD space stop or start or restart. If I wanted to stop, start, or restart the FTP server, very secure FTP server, I could say in Fedora service space VSFTPD space stop, start, or restart. Well, what I can do with the net command is start and stop services and so much more. There's a lot of things I can do with it. These are just some of the options that we can use here. So if we were going to try to net and telnet it's not running, but I'll just show you what would happen. It's not started, it tells me. So knowing that that's not started, let's see what happens. 127.0.0.1, I'm going to telnet into the loopback. In this case, the connection fails. Now I'm going to net start from the command prompt, and it's going to try to go ahead and start the telnet service. I'm going to telnet into my loopback, and yes, and of course telnet's not secure. It's much better if you're in Linux to use Secure Shell or RDP in Windows or something with encryption, because you're sending passwords out there that if anybody's sniffing around with Kane Enable or some software, they can catch those passwords. Root. What am I thinking? Sorry, I'm in Linux mode. Administrator is what we want. And there I go. I've telnetted into myself. And I'll just exit out of there. And, well, still back in Linux mode. CLS. Now, it's not safe to leave telnet running. That's a pretty dangerous service to allow it to run in the background if I don't need it. So again, I'm going to say net stop telnet. And telnet service has stopped. Another fun thing you can do with the net command is send messages. Now you need the Windows Messenger service running, and I don't believe it is running, but let me just make sure on this system. Oh, it was running. Okay, now I've stopped it. And by default, a lot of people will turn the Messenger service off. It's just safer, and you get less annoying pop-up messages. It is kind of useful sometimes around the office to be able to send messages back and forth, but let's see what would happen if I tried to send the message with the Messenger service turned off. We'll do net send, and again I'm going to do the loopback. Well, actually, let me use my IP address. We'll add another command, ipconfig, and I'm subnet 80 right here in the third octet, and 129 is what I've been leased from the DHCP server. So I'm going to do net and send and 192.168.80.129 and hi. In this case, it will fail because the messenger service is not running. That is a required service. Now let me use my net command, start. I'm going to go ahead and start the messenger service. And I'll just drop a message as soon as it's complete. Starting, right. There we go. And net send, and I want to do my IP 192.168, subnet 80.129, and and here's my message. Message from C Germany 192.168.80.129. Hi, I really like the 3D Barrel desktop and Linux. So that's just, just another example of the net command and some of the things that you can do with it. Now, of course, you can always go to My Computer, right-click, Manage, go down here to Services, and pick any service. Again, we'll go to Messenger. If I double-click on it, it's nice to be able to access it from the graphical interface as well. And I can, decide whether it's automatic or manual or disabled. I can stop and start it, log on, recovery, dependencies. And I can see that for all of my services here. This is a great place to manage, start, stop, automate, or make manual services running on your Windows workstation, XP Professional 2003-2008 Vista.